Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. What's cracking, people? It's your baby mama's favorite cousin, Cousin T-Tall. And today we have another wonderful conversation prepared for you. Hopefully that those who can will participate in this one, because we want to make sure that we expand and progress the conversation that has started in the past, and that will continue to move forward into the future. Now, today's conversation has to do with value. And when we consider what value is, in just a sec, I want to make sure that we're on the same page as far as how we define value and what it means to be of value and to bring value, and to exchange value versus transact value. That's really, really going to strike at the heart of tonight's conversation. But for those who have arrived early, salute to you. First of all, we have True Sayer saying, "Let's go." Salute to the masters.
What's crabin' twin?
Absolutely, of course. Tristan Fitness. What's happening, Tristan? Peace to the master. Salute to you. Absolutely. His Holiness was good with it. Says,
What's crabin' twin?
salute Cousin T and Rom Wills. Now, first of all, I want to do this. I want to start with a definition of value. Now, this comes from a conversation that I have at the higher levels of Patreon. Basically, this is what we call having a first principles analysis. In order to have a first principles analysis, we have to settle upon an agreed definition of terminology. So tonight we're discussing value. And so here is the definition, the working definition that we're going to use to qualify what that means. What is value? That which possesses a beneficial addition to one party from another in the form of an exchange. So keep that in mind as we go through the various elements of this conversation tonight. And speaking of we, bringing to the stage now none other than the OG player himself, Mr. Rom Wills.
I'll be a player for life, so where's my wife?
What's up, Rom? How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. Ready to go. You got the Matrix shades on.
That's it. Got the stunners on. Now, as we get into this particular conversation, I want to make sure that, and salute to Mogul Philosophy.
What's crabin' twin?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As we go through this conversation, I want to make sure that we include elements of, like I said, a conversation that has been progressing over the last 5+ years. And this conversation, of course, has to do with value. And I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge someone who drove a large percentage of these conversations, and that is none other than the great Kevin Samuels. Now, on the screen right now is his position on the 6 points of what a high value man is. And before we really dive into this, in my culture, Rom, which of course I know is your culture as well.
Yes.
We venerate our ancestors.
Yes.
And so tonight is a part of the anniversary of Kevin's transition. And so as a part of our cultural heritage, we like to pour libations. And as a symbol of our recognition of the transition of one of our elders who is now an ancestor, we pour some out in his memory.
Yes.
All right. So, in memory of the great Kevin Samuels, we will go over the 6 points that he established as what qualifies a high value man. The first point, Rom, was that he makes 10K per month according to standards. Now, of course, we've experienced a bit of inflation since this was introduced.
Yeah,
Um,
inflation and also people having trouble. We have these layoffs and stuff, but this ain't a economics channel or about some of the bigger things talking about what's going on in the economy. But you still have people out there making money,
right,
which is powerful in itself, really.
right,
Despite everything going on, if a man is still doing his thing out here, he's like, whatever. That's valuable right there. That's powerful. He's not worried about it because I'll just say for myself, yeah, we have all these layoffs and everything going on, but it was like, well, wait a minute. I still be doing videos in my pajamas. I don't have to leave the house. That's
right.
powerful.
It
So
is.
you still making 10,000 a month. That's a powerful man right there. That's just power, period. It's not even about getting women or anything. That's
Yes.
power. That's power right there. Because what is money but currency,
Right.
energy? Yeah,
That's it.
we can get into that. See, it's all energy. Once you realize it's energy, that's the thing. Because I talk about that on my money channel. Like if you have a dollar in your wallet, take it out, put it on the ground, step on it. It don't wiggle away or anything like that, but it represents something.
Right.
Like in some African cultures, a cowrie shell represents something. It could
Mhm.
represent something, but what the important thing is the energy of it, being able to still bring that energy in. And once you see it as energy, once you see it as currency,
Mhm.
that's the thing. So that's
Absolutely.
definitely a valuable man right there. He's still bringing in that currency. He hasn't cut off. In fact, keep broadcasting what he's broadcasting. He's bringing the money to him. It's finding its way to him.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, but I don't want to get too deep because we're going a whole other direction and stuff.
No, but so this all factors into the conversation about value. And
Yes.
when we look at the other points that Kevin presented when he qualified what the definition, he says this isn't his definition. He made a point. He always made a point to establish that this is necessarily his definition, but this is his qualification in terms
Mhm.
of when he refers to a high value man. So point number 2 says performs at the 10K monthly level for at least 3 to 5 years. The third point is accepted by other high value men as part of the group. Point
Mhm.
4 has a network of men who present and add value. Very important there. Number 5, position and income are linked in level. Now, those conversations are always interesting because
Mhm.
when we think about, you know, alternative enterprises, we'll just say it that way, alternative enterprises that bring in income, it may not necessarily always be at the LinkedIn or public facing level. Uh,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. I understand that. Yeah, that's another conversation in itself.
it is, no, absolutely, absolutely. Uh, Finally, we have must be useful to the group and others. Salute to Kevin Samuels.
Yeah, yeah. He's in our culture. He's powerful. He is powerful on the other side. He might not be on this side, but he's still doing the work.
He absolutely is still doing the work, and part of this conversation, why I wanted to make sure that we included his contribution to this topic, is because in this sphere, right, when we talk about a man positioning himself as the authority, a man who is on his path of masculine mastery,
Hmm.
a man building his world so that he can achieve his mission. There are two sides to this value equation, right? A
Hmm.
person, more specifically a man, can either deplete his value or increase his value.
Yes.
His value can be presented as a depreciating asset, meaning he gives it away instead of invests it, right?
Yes.
Or it can become an appreciating asset, meaning that he strategically invests his value in places and in people that will give him a return on his investment.
Yes.
So, and again, these are slides that for those who are on the Patreon side, you're definitely familiar with the next few slides that I'm presenting, because now we have to talk about what relative value is. You see,
Mm-hmm.
and this is something that the average man, even though you may not be making 10K a month or six figures, you have this particular value to you. Your relative value refers to your presence, your prowess, and your presentation. How many times have we cited guys who have the ability to, like I say, entrance someone,
Yes.
entrance, and for example, entrance a woman in certain ways that he doesn't have to buy her a $500 steak dinner. He
Yo, yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. And I kind of talked about that today in my car video
oh,
because, yesterday I talked about, let's just be real, many men have to negotiate. They have to bargain with a woman for attention, but then there's certain men, they just show up. This is a great example of that. I mean, he didn't have to pay anything. Women trying to get with him.
right.
Women trying to do that, but that's a value that can be a value too. But it's a different type of value. As you say, their presence, their prowess, their presentation, that masculine echelon, the roughneck.
Mm-hmm.
Some women get with that. Sometimes I'll use the term Mr. Goodbar,
Mm-hmm.
because I know some guys now and might have even been there when I
Mm,
was younger. I didn't have money, but had women. They would pay for the presence.
right.
I always talk about the time I had 2 straight weeks, two different women paid for the motel room. I didn't have the money. Would have been three, but the woman had her own place.
Right.
I didn't have I literally had just started a job that first week, that first one. So I didn't have money coming in, living
Exactly.
at my grandmother's, but I still had that value to them. And
Yeah.
so, I was able to give that. I didn't have the money. I wouldn't qualify for that 10,000 a month. Very
Right.
far from it. I didn't have that currency, but I had that other power. And see, that's one of the things I talk about a lot. A man developing that type of power, because and that type of value, you can still develop it regardless, because everybody, even when you get going for that 10,000 a month or 100,000 a month, a million a month, you still have to start somewhere. But it
Yes.
don't mean you get that power, you get that value, and then that's when you get the ladies. Shoot, you can get the ladies from the get go, and you can get it from your presence, your development. When I talk body game,
Yes. Exactly.
women go crazy over a man's body. Even though you get some guys, and I'm gonna talk about that in a car video tomorrow, who feel like, oh, it ain't the body. It's like, no, they looking at the whole thing. They
Yes.
thinking it's just a face and height. Yes, women checking that out, but what they wrapping their leg, what they wrapping those fat thighs, those thick thighs, which save lives around.
Absolutely.
Shoot, man, just real quick. I always say about this one woman. I swear, I'm in here. I just look down. It's like, damn, look at these thighs. Good Lord.
Look at that. Like, Rom just gave us a wonderful lesson about being present in the moment, right?
Hmm.
He didn't even have to make it rain, and he had an enjoyable experience. That's what I mean when I talk
Well,
about the
enjoyable
experience.
experiences. I mean, seriously. And that was up into my 50s. I mean, you could still have that at the same time, even though I had some money. Still, to this day, still, you could still do that because when a woman, she don't know how much you're making because I wasn't bargaining with them,
Right.
and it still don't. But I don't want to take it too far off of this conversation because this is very important. But go ahead.
Absolutely. Shout out to Maxwell Colonia says a select man brings out the generous spirit in a woman because his
Yes,
presence is generous. About that. About
yes.
that. Shout out to Joe Blast. What's up?
What's up, brother Joe?
Respect to
Yeah.
the teachers. Absolutely. Absolutely. So moving forward, let's just be clear. When we talk about a man's relative value, right?
Yes.
This is something that is there. This is something that can be identified, nurtured, developed, and enhanced by a mentor, a teacher, or coach in this thing that we call game. Every man who is listening to this conversation and other conversations has his relative value. It's there before the career. It's there before the degrees. It's there
Hmm.
before the vocation. It's there before the car, or cars. It's there before the boat. It's there before the house, the nice apartment. It's there before the passport. It's there before the trips. Right. This is the core of your person. This is who you are at your
Yes.
core. Because as we move forward, we want all of those who are listening to keep in mind that even when we do coaching sessions, even when we have mentees, this is the value that we as teachers, we as practitioners of this thing that we call gang, this is what we're looking for within the younger men or other men who we are coaching, mentoring, and teaching this game to. Because once we discover and we can identify and relate to you your relative value, again, your presence, your proud, what does it mean for you to be present? How do you show up in spaces, right? Your prowess, how do you express uh, yourself? How do you express your erotic identity? How do you express your masculinity, your presentation? How is it all packaged, right? Do you wear clothing that fits?
Yes.
How does your clothing fit? Is it clean? Is it presentable according to the environment that you're looking to navigate? Right. There have been some clients that I've had, and we've gone through their dating profiles, and or we're working with their wardrobe at the a particular point in time, and I'm like, this doesn't match up to the type of women that you're looking to involve yourself with. Now there's certain guys that can pull off almost any wardrobe,
Well,
but
let me say something. Let me say
yeah,
something real
go for it.
quick. It's interesting you said that because, as you know, I always record my sit down videos a week before, and I have a video coming next week where I'm talking about that broadcasting to get to the woman that you want. And just to give you a bit of a preview, like one of the things I said, like I used the example, if you want to get an upper class woman, you have to dress like it. You have to broadcast to her. That's you actually. I'll put it like this. Yeah, I gotta wait till next week to see it. But when I talk about a tribe, you create a tribe within.
Right.
Like if you want to get ratchets, I use that as an example. I don't deal with ratchets, but you have to dress a certain way. You have to carry yourself a certain way. You broadcast to get to them.
Yes.
So that's within you broadcasting, you saying because they're going to take a look at you, they're going to look at how you dress, they're going to look at your shoes, and they're going to say, "Oh, okay, this the type of guy that I want." But really, it's the type of woman that you want that's responding to that. That's what you broadcast, and that's what a broadcast is. See, we giving y'all some powerful knowledge right here.
Absolutely.
Let people know. Use this knowledge yourself. But go ahead, man.
Oh, indeed. I mean, imagine wearing a tuxedo to a gym, right?
Oh yeah,
It's out of place. It's out of position. Or,
it is.
imagine wearing overalls to a black tie affair, right?
Oh man.
Yeah,
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 yeah, it's not gonna work. You got to think if this the type of woman you want, what are they going to respond to?
right.
You have to think about that. But see, that's within, and you ain't spent one dime yet. You just going on your image. You haven't said one word yet
Exactly.
because your appearance matters. Your appearance matters. Like you get some people want to argue about that, but your appearance, I would say your overall appearance, not just your genetic body bone structure, but what clothes you're wearing, how you wearing it, your posture matters. Because you
Yes.
remember when our lady friend she did that webinar for us, and she
Mhm.
spent about 20 minutes just talking about posture.
Yes.
And they
Exactly.
they they look at all of that. They like how's this person walking? And that's before you haven't even said a word yet. Because think about it, women decide in 3 seconds what they want to do with it, where they placing you.
Absolutely.
So your appearance has to say something to them. Like this gentleman right here. I don't know. I'm having a brain fart on his name,
Earl?
Jeremy Meeks.
Oh, Jimmy
And
Mix. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, but see, people know about him and stuff, but see, what's the image he's presented, and then who did he end up with? He end
Right.
up he end up with a billionaires. And a
Yes.
woman's making a lot of money, but see, look at the image. See, he already had one image, but then he's dressing a certain way to attract a different type of woman.
Yeah, and it's about social navigation. You know, we there is an interesting component to the American landscape, and we'll hit this and we'll move forward. Uh, that refers to rugged individualism. Now, that has its place in terms of expressing your unique identity. However, there are appropriate times and spaces where dressing and
Mhm.
presenting and showing up that in a way that's relative and relatable to the scene that you're entering matters. And so this is one of those examples of having the self-awareness and having the social savviness of the type of man who knows how to move through spaces with ease. That is a very attractive quality and valuable in terms of attracting the type of mate who sees herself with you, who who can uh, re- depend on your knowledge and skill sets of presentation. Shout out to Charles Faulkner.
What's poppin', twin?
What's
Woo!
up? What's up? Absolutely, absolutely. So, quick question. Pharaoh asked, would y'all agree dressing like the woman that you want every day is the key along with skills? I'm not sure if you've asked this question the right way. I'm
Yeah.
assuming that you're asking if you're dressing like the man that you are will attract
Yeah,
the woman that you
yeah,
want.
and that should be more the question, like who you are. You trying to get the woman that is in cooperation with your operation,
Right.
you
Right.
know? See,
Okay.
you still, no matter what, you have to be who you are. Now, yeah, I
Right.
could talk about, yeah, getting an upper class woman or something, but are you that type of man who wants to be in that environment?
Right.
You might want that ratchet. I
O-
don't want that ratchet, but I can't speak for you.
Right. Or the bohemian. The
The
the artsy.
bohemian,
Yeah.
yeah. Shoot, that's a great example because yeah, you see some of these women, these earthy black girls and all of that. Shoot, they want that guy got wearing that onk because I actually know somebody like that. He got locks, he be wearing that onk and all of that. Those bohemian young ladies be going crazy for him. But then that guy wearing that Armani suit or something, they might look at him, they might like his face, say he handsome, but they ain't getting wet. If they
Right.
even wearing underwear, they ain't taking it off.
If they're wearing, we caught that, Rob.
Yeah, if they even wearing it. Yeah, well, you know how they do. You know how those bohemian women do. Yeah, shoot,
No,
you don't know
absolutely.
that could be a whole show right there.
And you see why knowledge of self is necessary. We've already covered at least three classes of women, right? The bougie, the 92 octane. We've covered the bohemian, the 89 octane. We've covered the 85 ratchet. Of course, we still got um, the 100 octane, right?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the Armani suit. You mentioned well, we can mention leisure wear.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
athletic fits that highlight your more attractive attributes. That is something that definitely, attracts a range of women uh,
Mm-hmm.
for activities that would involve everybody winning. Now, let's talk about a man's absolute value. We've covered the relative value. Now, the absolute value of a man refers to a man's status and wealth. Now, this is also something that's a touchy conversation to have because there are debates that are had regarding a man's looks, money, and status, right? I know that you've done quite a few videos about this, Rom. The difference between a man attracting a woman with his looks, money, and status as opposed to his physique, charisma, uh, and what is it that you say?
Masculinity,
There you go.
PCM.
There you go.
Well, it's just that power there because the issue there is, first of all, women they have different guys they go and look at. Money they can't really see, and plus women, when you start bringing in money, a lot of women just trying to use that. They looking for the bargain. You have the acculturated prostitutes, or as the Honorable Pimp God would call them, acceptable hoes,
Mm-hmm.
or the term I'll put in, sex traders. They
Okay.
they looking for that. So it's like, yeah, that can attract some women, but what are they attracted to? Are they really attracted to the man himself? Or they attracted to maybe the lifestyle? They
Right.
attracted to what they can extract from that man.
Right.
Because we had plenty of stories about, these pro athletes making all this money. They marry that woman, and then 6 months later, the woman wants to get a divorce and then get half.
Right. Right.
So a man has to be careful about that. In fact, some men who are slick, who actually they high value men, they making a lot of money. When they go on that first date, they don't drive that late model luxury car. They drive the hoopty just to see where the woman is standing.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, some who are even slicker, they'll have that big old house, but then they'll bring like that woman over to that apartment in a modest neighborhood or something just to see what she really to see where she really going.
Right. No, these are facts. These are facts. This is more of a statement than a question. None unknown 666 says, "Will the pheromones of a dog attract a cat? Dress to impress the one you want to impress." That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Um, Salute to Maxwell Colonia. Says this, I just want to say thank you, feeling blessed for getting all this game. Absolutely. And remember, everybody who is watching this stream right now, like, share, subscribe, and forward this live to someone that you know can benefit from this ism. Also, make sure that you pay attention to the scrolling information at the bottom of the screen, which has
Hmm.
the Cash App that you can bless for Ron Wills, and also the very, very valuable Patreon link to get higher levels of this thing we call game. Now, understanding what your absolute value as a man is important
Yeah.
because you can have an understanding and knowledge and acceptance of your relative value, those intangibles. However, if you are someone who uh, wants to build something, right? If you are someone who wants to first build his own world and then expand it into his mission, you have to be aware of reality. And a man's absolute value is his awareness of his reality. What is your status among other men? Are you respected?
Yes.
Are you uh, considered when making big decisions, important, impactful decisions, right? In terms of your wealth, this is another conversation that some people are uncomfortable with, but it's a necessary conversation, right? What does your level of investment look like? How have you invested into your what I refer to as cash value, CASH, your commodifiable attributes, skills, and habits? What does that bring? What are the tangible, uh, you know, assets that your cash value brings you? You need to know these things because in order to complete your mission, you must accumulate the elements of your mission.
Yes.
And that could, refer to a range of elements, a range of things. You may need to be able to support an ecosystem. And we know what I mean when I say an ecosystem, that means a familial structure, right?
Mhm.
Hopes, dreams, prayers, and wishes are wonderful. But when you focus all of those sort of aspects into the actual physical realm in which we are taking up right now. We're blessed to be in this physical realm right now, right? We're blessed with the opportunity to always be constructing and refining our status and always be working towards acquiring wealth, not only for ourselves, but for the next generation, right?
Yes.
It's a blessing to be alive. It's a blessing to have this thing that we call life. Uh, just a segue, right, Rom? Next
Mhm.
month, right, depending on when a person's listening to this live stream, I will be presenting a webinar called "What Is Life?" Right,
Yes.
and this unique experience that we're enjoying as humans is something that is coveted by others, something that is desirous by those who do not enjoy what we have. And so, a man who understands, appreciates, and embraces his absolute value in tandem with his relative value sets himself up for this next aspect, his ultimate value. Now, Ram, a man's ultimate value involves the totality of his fully integrated self.
Yes. Yes. In my book, Nice Guys and Players, I would consider that the real man. He's really hitting on all levels. In the streets when I was coming up, they would call that the thorough man. Yeah, he could get those women. Yeah, he could fight, but he could also make that money. He could do it on multiple levels. So it wasn't just he was just on one man. If we talk about what I've talked about often, the house of the man, that's the man who fully has that going. He has the warrior, he has the eagle, he has the hunter, and he has the healer.
Facts.
So that's the ultimate value. You want to be as developed as a man as possible on multiple levels.
Yes. And again, as coaches, teachers, and mentors of this thing called game, this is what we are preparing and
Hmm.
developing and assisting men towards, men
Yes.
from 18 to 88 towards discovering, defining, and expanding upon what is your ultimate value? What is the sum total of your relative and absolute value? When we
Mhm.
consider Kevin Samuel's position on a high value man, part of the conversation had to do with and has to do with his level of awareness,
Mhm.
awareness of his environment, awareness of his domain of expertise, right? Kevin would refer to a surgeon. Kevin would refer to an engineer. Kevin would refer to the type of men who are required to have a high level skill set, the type of men who are required to have a knowledge and network of other men who also compete in their domain of expertise, right? That is part of what a man's ultimate value is. Having knowledge, working knowledge of not only what it is that you've built, but where it is that you're going with what you've built. You see, now we talk about meaning. What does this all mean? Because we can talk about the point of a high value man, right?
Yes.
What does it mean to work as much as you can in order to hit that six-figure floor? What does it mean to work and to network with like-minded individuals so that you have established relationships among your peers? What would be the purpose of that? What is the meaning of developing yourself? What is the meaning of your mission? What does it mean to actually have a drive to expand yourself in this life? Well, of course, the meaning of life is to give meaning to life. But to really bring it home in terms of the conversation of value, right? The meaning of your value as a man is to develop enough of who you truly are. So, like we always say, that you can put everyone involved in the best position to win. That is meaning. That is
Yes.
purpose. That is mission. Because at the end of the day, in the beginning of the next, what validates a man truly is his level of impact. How does he impact others? What is his impact on society? What problems are he what are the problems that he has the capacity to solve on a regular basis, short term, midterm, and long term? You see, these bring meaning. These bring you beyond just being in the basement playing video games with Cheeto dust on your mustache, right?
Mhm.
These are the things that bring excitement,
Yes.
and we haven't even gotten deep. We still have further to go in terms of the value that a man has, because remember, we first have to be able to identify the value within ourselves. But as teachers, mentors, and coaches of this thing that we call game, part of the value that we bring to you, men, and of course to the women who listen to us, is being able to identify the value within you, right?
Mhm.
Because once you can do that, you now know what you bring to the proverbial table. You
Yes.
see? What do you bring to the table? Rom, how many times have you had that conversation with different men?
Plenty
Right.
of times. Plenty of times.
And when that question comes up, what's the average answer?
It's shit. A lot of times, guys don't not even sure, man. To be
Exactly.
honest with you, I hate
Exactly.
to say that, but they not sure. They don't know themselves. Like one of the things I do with my coaching is really to get them to recognize what they have within.
Yes. Yes. And what's so funny about the table conversation is that it is meant to be an internal investigation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to look within as opposed to use it as an indictment of the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes for an exciting conversation when you ask someone, particularly someone of the opposite sex, well, what do you bring to the table? And to see them get all flustered and flabbergasted about it, right? Because they haven't had this conversation about value, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the obvious answer is I bring mastery, right? But you have to have mastered something in order to bring that to the table. You
Yes.
see, mastery
Yeah.
of what?
Yeah. What are
Mastery,
you bringing? What are you bringing? What are you doing? That's
right?
why I say, like, when I'm talking, most of my videos are about a man mastering himself. Some men get mad at me, like, "Oh, you ain't going in on the women." It's like, no, the power's within. It's just like when I was talking earlier about broadcasting. If you want your tribe, that's really within you. That's not outside of you. You got to develop yourself inside. Then when you develop yourself inside, then you affecting the environment around you.
Yes.
But see, you can't do that. See, we got too many men out here. They're looking outside of themselves. They looking at the problems outside of themselves. They want the win. It's like, no, no, no. Develop yourself inside. Your power's within. Even bringing money to the table, that's really within you. What can you do? That's not outside of you. What can you do in that job? What can you do in that business? What skills that you have? You have to develop that. And then you bring in the currency, the energy, the money flows to you. The money tries to hand itself to you,
Right.
you know? But
Right.
you have to bring out what's within you. You have to bring out your value. It's
Yes.
not going money, whatever, money, women, whatever you want, it's not going to just hand itself to you. You just sitting there, playing your video games with Cheetos in your beard or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to happen. What are you
Right.
doing? What are you working on stuff? See, once you have that power within you, then the world really changes to your reality. You actually create the reality.
Yes.
You create the reality, not anybody else. And they respond to you.
Right.
Because I've even talked about when I first really got into body game. There
Mm-hmm.
were women who had me at first in the friend zone. They weren't trying, but then when I changed up, wasn't even changing for the women, was changing for something else.
Mm-hmm.
The women changed up.
Right. Right. That's how powerful and impactful self development is. Well, first
Yeah.
of all, self awareness. You are aware of an element of yourself that you can improve, that you can develop, that you can progress and make better. You did it. You did the work. You
Mm-hmm.
dug in and you observed the result. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, one thing that I like to bring up is the long list. And there is a listen, I one of these days, I like to crack open the notes on my phone. I have at least 20. I say it's 3,500, 5,000, 1,500, but reasons why players, Max and OGs are loved, respected, and sought after by women who want to be with them and men who want to learn from them is because we possess that thing that the French refer to as the joie de vivre, right? The joie de
Yes.
vivre, the joy of living, you
Yes.
see? And every culture has their version of it. The Brazilians have their version of it. Uh, East Asian Indians have their version of it. In our culture, we refer to it as flavor,
Mm-hmm.
sauce,
Yes.
flow,
Oh yeah.
mojo, motion,
Ooh.
right?
Yeah, I like especially mojo. That
Exactly.
mojo is powerful.
When you get that mojo working, you see, women can feel that. Other people can feel that. And you know how valuable that is? Just to use that reference from the French, when you can bring the joy of living to a space, you have brought life to the room.
Yes.
That's why they say bad boys are exciting. You know
Yes.
why? Because bad boys, all right, we're gonna get some insight right here, real quick. All right. Bad boys actually are interested in something.
Yes.
The thing that bad boys are interested in is discovery. You see, there are four basic elements to human expressionality, right? Or what drives humans. Again, Ram already knows the answer to this because I presented this in the private group. The four basic drivers of human activity are this: survival, pleasure,
Yes.
right? Discovery, and expression. Those are the four basic drivers of human activity. Now, of course, the bad boy wants pleasure, but he knows how to survive. He's a hustler. But when you actually listen to the conversation or engage a so called bad boy, which is basically just a man with an edge, a man who could
Mhm.
care less, who has less fucks to give than your average politician or preacher, right?
Mhm.
When you engage with him to really, really see what he's after, you will find that the average bad boy and most bad boys are after the next high. And what does that mean? The next high of life, whether it's drag racing, right? I used to rebuild Chevys, you know, those G body Chevys.
Mhm.
I had an 82 El Camino, and there was a strip of streets on the west side of Chicago. It's now, you know, taken over by the CTA, but you know, my west siders know what I'm talking about. There used to be regular drag races. People would bring their cars and their Chevys up there and just tear out, okay, for money, for bragging rights, to impress whomever. But it was the feeling of that moment of being in the driver's seat of a machine that you brought, that you worked on, that you tinkered with. You see,
Mhm.
that adrenaline, knowing that you're going to be neck and neck with somebody who you don't even know. You're the feeling of the anticipation of that moment. Of course, it was
Mhm.
dangerous. Of course, it was loud. Of course, you know, we had to have lookouts, scouting for law enforcement. But in that
Mhm.
moment, the level of aliveness, the blood pumping through our veins, we could care less about any and everything outside of those four wheels on the ground. That is what bad boys chase. That's
Yeah.
what they're looking for, the discovery of what's next. And so that feeling, that sensation is infectious. That
Yes.
feeling, that sensation is a drive that is attractive to many women.
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead.
I mean, I can think about and this is in my 50s. A couple women I've dealt with and they said they knew when I was around, it wasn't even about like my physicality, definitely wasn't about my money. It was about the energy. Like this one woman I worked with on one of my jobs, she said she always knew when I was around, even if her back was turned.
Hmm.
I ain't had to say anything. She knew when I was around. She felt the energy.
Right.
She felt the energy. And that's really the highest level, but I don't really talk about that much. A lot of guys ain't. I'm trying to get when I'm talking about body game. That's just the beginning.
Elementary.
Yeah, that's just the beginning. See, a lot of people ain't ready for me to go to the deepest level because then people be like, "Hey, how I get there?" So, and then if I give that, a lot of people ain't going to get it, and then of course you're going to get somebody who going to be talking about it on some other video and stuff. They ain't really understand it, but they still throwing it out there like they invented it.
Right.
Then you might have to see another part of Uncle Ron. You
Lord
might
have
you might
mercy.
yeah, you might find out some stuff. It was like, wait a minute, why this thing happened to him?
Right. Right. No, indeed. Indeed. Shout out to Danny. We appreciate that, Sawbuck. Absolutely. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe. Forward this conversation to someone that you know can benefit from this ism. Also, make sure that you look down at the bottom of the screen and bless that Cash App and sub
Bless that
to
Cash App, yo.
the Patreon of Ron Wills so that you can get higher levels of this thing we call game.
Well,
Now,
definitely
Ron,
bless the class. Hey, look, I don't really ask for it a lot, but bless the Cash App.
yes,
Might want to stop and see this Indian young lady tomorrow. Got some good food at her place.
yes, indeed. Bless that Cash App. Now, Ron, when we talk about the difference and frequency, the difference in um, knowledge and direction and what drives certain men. And we relate it to the value of the transaction versus the value of the exchange. Of course, in this space, we value the exchange over the transaction. But
Yes.
for the sake of conversation, we have to make sure that we do our due diligence in explaining the differences between the two, right? Our part of our goal and our mission with the instruction of men within the curriculum of game is to take them from, you ready, provider and protector to source and perfecter,
Yes.
right? Provider and protector, that is a transactional dynamic.
Yes.
Transactional dynamic. So much so that in recent years, people have trivialized it. Institutions, right? Establishment institutions have said, well, women can be their own providers. Law
Yes.
enforcement are the new protectors.
Yes.
You see, those dynamics have been um, drilled down, have been depreciated as we're using
Yeah.
this example of value. The value of provision of being a provider and a protector have been diminished, have been depreciated.
Yes.
However,
Yes, they have.
the value of being the source,
Yes.
the value of being the perfecter is at an all-time high.
Yeah,
You
they
see?
they can't do anything about that. Yes, they can make their own money. Yes, they can get their own protection and stuff, but they still want that energy. That's why I will always argue that women, no matter what they're doing, they still need men. But see, they just don't need any man. They need that man that's going to energize them. They
Yeah.
need like at the highest level. Let me go deep for
Go
once
there.
out here.
Go there.
They're going to need at that highest level that man who could bring out their fullness, that energize. Because what a man does at his highest level, he frees that woman.
Yes.
He brings something out. Like that classic movie Titanic. What Jack did in that one evening was really bring out something in I forgot the female character's name, but he brought something out in her.
Mm-hmm.
And see, when cousin T talks about source, that's the source of heaven.
Your
That's
life.
the source of life.
Hmm.
And see, women, they can't pay for that. They can't do it. They can work on that job making seven figures or career or whatever, and they can get protected by whoever. But that energy, they will go for that energy. And sometimes they will even pay for that energy. If a man has that certain energy, he can bring that life. They want that. They need that. That's why they will, if they encounter a man who actually has it, they'll pay him. They'll
Right.
have him around. I mean, that's how powerful it is. And a man, in my view, he wants to have that power. That's where he wants to go. That's why I say body game, man, that's the free, that's just starting out. Even though
Right.
some guys be trying to argue against it, but he he has that.
Right.
He
And
has to have that.
the way that a man recognizes that he is the source of light, which is life, is through these conversations, through coaching sessions, being taught this
Mhm.
thing that we call game, and his relative and absolute value, integrating that into his ultimate value, because a man's ultimate value is the source of light for women and his family. Shout out to None. Oh no, this is a wonderful statement. They can't be the spiritual leaders. Now,
Mhm.
that deserves its own conversation, but that is true because of the dynamic, the way in which the feminine engages the masculine. You see,
Yes.
one is passive, one is active, right?
Yes.
Shout out to Colonia. Yes, preach. Absolutely. Joe Blasphemy. We appreciate the Finn saying, how do you begin to harness that energy or presence? Wonderful question.
Yes.
Wonderful question. A simple way to start to begin to harness that energy. What excites you?
Yes.
What gets you, what piques your interest in terms of being a man? I know that question hasn't been asked on the internet today. This is the first time that we're asking this question on the internet. What gets you excited about being a man, right? When we take inventory of what it means to be a man, masculinity, action, insight,
Mhm.
strategy, observation, planning, structuring, and here's the part where um, the answer to your question comes in. It is how we execute that
Mhm.
which who we are. We execute our plans. We execute our strategies. That is how we begin to harness the energy of source, you see. And that also is how we develop our value as masculine masters. We've been there before. We've seen the challenges to the point where we welcome the challenges because we know that that continues to refine our energy. It refines our ability to problem solve. You see, what is it that gets you excited about being a man, Joe Blass? We'll look forward to your answer in the comments. But that question is how you begin to harness the energy in the presence
Mhm.
of being a masculine master. And that is
Yes.
extremely valuable. Extremely valuable. Don't let anybody lie to you and try to suggest that you need to diminish your masculinity or that your natural masculinity is so-called toxic. Okay. So think about what
Don't
makes
get
you
me started
excited.
on that one.
I know, absolutely. I would love to have that conversation someday. But yeah, just think about what makes you excited about being a man, Joe Blast, and let us know in the comments. Moving forward, so besides going from being a provider and protector to a source and perfecter. Another one is this: part of the transaction, resources and shelter. So we want you to look beyond being the person who offers resources and shelter to the person who offers reason and the investor, right? So go from resources and shelter to reason and the investor. What are you investing? You are investing your will. You see, the will of who you are as a man is extremely powerful, because a man's will can build an empire. A man's will can unite a community in an effort that benefits not only their generation, but the generations that are to come. That's why men are attacked. That's why men are undermined. That's why men are viewed negatively in the media, because the more men who recognize their true potential, their true power, the true source of our capacity, the harder it is to keep them captivated. You see, religion captivates. And what do I mean by captivation? Have you ever heard a choir? Beautiful, melodic, rhythmic, harmonious. Do you know the choir is a very important component to how the parishioner is captivated? And what I mean by captivation is you're literally captured. Your spirit is
Yes.
captured. Your attention is captured. Your identity is captured. Your will is captured. Those songs are beautiful. They talk about the hereafter. They talk about salvation. They talk about enduring the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
But what they don't talk about, is self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
What they don't talk about is mastery.
Mm-hmm.
What they don't talk about is the internal source of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You see, that is what it means to be a masculine master. That is what it means to adopt the philosophy of gain. You see, when you are able to free your mind, you are a dangerous person. You know
Yes.
why? You know why? It's because you start to have answers to the questions.
Yes.
We're going to go a little deep. We're going to go a little deep with the time that we have. When you start to recognize, remember, and to have a growing awareness of self, the questions of what is life? Who are we? Why are we here? What is the meaning of these things? Start to reveal themselves. The answers to these questions start to reveal themselves. So much so to the point of having to have conversations about actual reality, right? In private groups. Okay. That is how powerful awareness is, consciousness is. You see?
Yes.
That is the power of masculine mastery, right?
Yes.
It is the realization of your ability to access the path to freedom, the path to truth, the path to completion of your mission. What did Joe Blast say when we asked him the question in terms of what makes you excited about being a man? He says this: I'd say recognition that as a man, I've actually got more say so in my life than I believe possible. I say that because my thought process coming up was more feminine, as in, let's see, hoping instead of action. Shout out to you.
Yes, shout out, brother Joe Blast. Powerful brother.
Shout out to you. Now that is how you develop your ability to become the source, right?
Yes.
And these
Your
words that
power.
you use, right, in terms of action versus hope, that is a masculine quality. You see, acting on what you know to be right, what you know to be true, that takes courage. You see, and that's just one element, one aspect of being a man. And so getting back into the transaction versus the exchange, right? Transacting value versus exchanging value. Ram, let's take a look at the prize. You see, besides the table conversation, what do you bring to the table? There's another conversation. This will make a wonderful clip, right? There's another conversation that happens in terms of who is the prize,
Yes.
right? Is the woman the prize with those lovely eyes, that truly unique hair, right? Be it 4C, 3B, or whatever, wavy, coiled, that hair, right? Those eyes, those lips. Oh my goodness. Look at her body. Listen to her feminine voice. It's so soft. It has the ability to hypnotize a man. Look at her hands, elegant. Her feet. We ain't even gonna talk about selling feet pics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at the way she walks. My goodness. The sway of those hips. Don't let her be able to sing. Femininity is a nectar that we enjoy to sip from, right? And that's going to be its own conversation. The sipping from the feminine nectar of
Yes.
a truly beautiful woman. That's another conversation for another day. Is that the prize? Is she the prize? Or is the man the prize?
Yes.
With our strength, with our will, with our developed self, our presence, our foresight, our authority, our ability to problem solve, right? Are men the prize? Well, here is the true prize. The relationship is the prize.
Yes.
You see, for all of the conversations, for all the talks, for all the attributes that we can apply to the feminine and to the masculine, at the end of the day and the beginning of the next, this is part of the goal.
Mm-hmm.
You see, this is the major part of the goal. This is the majority of the goal. I present the modern landscape in terms of how we engage in mating, dating, but at the top of that list is relating.
Yes.
How two or more, if you're poly, engage in the dynamic of one another. You see, the relationship is the prize. starting with the relationship with yourself, continuing on with the relationship with source, and flowing through and into the relationship with your significant other. Notice I don't say partner, right?
Mhm.
When we talk about the type of relationships and the relating that takes place in these spaces, the heteronormative space, we don't necessarily use the word partner because it's not a partnership. Let's be honest. There's another clip. The relationship between a man and a woman is not a partnership. It is a stewardship.
Mhm.
The man is the steward, you see. The woman is his counterpart, you see. And through the vehicle of their relationship, that is where their lives truly flourish. You see? The goal is to flourish. The goal is to establish a space within which culture can be built, culture can be developed, nurtured,
Yes.
and
Yes.
expanded. That culture grows into a legacy that you ultimately hope to pass down to the next generation. Shout
Yes.
out to Mother Nature, right? Were you just thinking that the relationship is the prize? Well, I would have to agree. Certainly.
Yes.
What do you think, Ron?
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. You bring in those two forces together in order to create more. You both bring in something. Yes.
Absolutely. And in these conversations, we want those who are listening. Of course, you're liking, you're subscribing, and you're forwarding this information, this conversation to those who can benefit from this ism. We want you to take away this ultimate value here, right?
Mhm.
If we've established that men bring a certain value to the relationship space, and mature men recognize the value that a feminine woman brings to the relationship space, right?
Yes.
As I always say, the woman is the foundation of the familial ecosystem. What it means to be a foundation is that she is the support. The woman supports the familial ecosystem.
Yes.
Brilliant, beautiful, and naturally positioned, right? So that the man can exist in his natural position, which is the authority of the familial ecosystem.
Yes. Yes.
You see how that works?
Yeah, they
Right.
both have they both have that job. They both have that thing that they're doing, you know?
Right.
And that's the thing. Everybody has to do what's within their power. And that's where the power really is. Then you build on that power, then you create more of a reality. Indeed, if you really look at a nation, it really comes from the family.
Yes.
It comes from the family. It doesn't come from like politics or voting or some people getting together. As they would say in Ghana, you know, the ruin of a family begins in the home. So you
Yes.
ruin the home, you ruin well the beginning of a nation begins in a home. You ruin the home, you ruin the nation.
Right.
But use that same power, you turn it around, you begin the nation in the home. Because if you look at any real nation, really just a very big family. It's a clan, and it started in a nation. If you look at every single ethnic group, they can trace it back to the wombs of some woman. They can trace it back to the wombs of some woman, but see, where did that seed in the woman come from? A man. So it
Yes.
comes from a man as well. Indeed, you have a significant part of the world who descended from Genghis Khan.
Right.
So, I mean, is powerful. It's powerful when you look at everything. You look because what happens in the family, and I've said this before publicly, any household is a micro nation, and you can build from there. You can build it. Everything starts there. That's how powerful it is. That's how powerful a man is.
Right.
That's how powerful a man is. When they say a man is the father of a country, that's what they really mean. It's powerful. It's powerful. The man has to realize that. He has to realize that any man who has children, he has something, he's creating a reality. That reality can extend several generations into the future.
Right. And okay, this is fun. This is fun. This is a fun question. None unknown asks. This is just real brief before we move on. Answer me this, elder. Who is more powerful, a weak king who controls an army, or a woman who controls a weak king? This is an easy one.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, that woman controlling that weak king.
Think so?
Yeah. The reason why I say that is she's controlling him. What would you say?
I would just refer to the Magna Carta.
Mhm.
For those who in unknown, comment down below if you're familiar with how the Magna Carta came to be. Okay, 1215 was the year. You see, and just briefly, really briefly, and this is why it's important to know history. What happened with the Magna Carta and its inception was that the barons of the time conspired to remove the power of the king because they felt that the king um, was no longer discharging his authority appropriately.
Mm, mhm.
So they elected a document that established that there was no longer a divine right of rulership of the king. So
Mm,
when we talk about power,
mhm.
a collective of men who were bringing in the um, products and the spoils of campaigns in the name of the empire saw that the king was weak. They conspired and said, hey, we are the ones who are bringing the value to this empire.
Yeah.
Sign this document stating that the people represented by the barons are the ones who have the ability to establish and to implement rules of engagement. You see.
Yes.
So my response to this question, known and unknown, is that the most powerful one in this scenario is the one with the most knowledge.
Okay.
So that was pretty funny, though.
Mhm.
Getting back to this ism, so we say,
Yeah. Let me step out for a second.
absolutely go for it. Now, there comes a point and the conversation surrounding the transaction versus the exchange where we have to admit that when we deconstruct the road of a man's life and how he gets to a space of complacency, let's be specific. Now, I know that referring to someone as a nerd is a sensitive and sore subject. But we have to look at the difference between a so-called nerd and a so-called bad boy, you see. And when you ask a nerd who they are, unfortunately, they cannot tell you. And by who they are, I'm not talking about, oh, I'm a doctor. Oh, I'm an accountant. Oh, I'm an engineer. No, no, really ask them who they are beyond the degrees, beyond the titles. Who are they really? Most can't tell you, right? But you ask the average so called bad boy, you ask a man with game, a player, a Mac, an OG, who are you? Most will answer, I'm me. But what does that mean? A person who, as we say, stepped off the porch early, meaning sought to see a life of discovery, refers to themselves as me or him because they experience life outside of the restraints artificially placed on them by the expectations of those who control institutions, right? The establishment, if you will. And when you present this to a man, a young man who has been referred to as a nerd, he says it doesn't make sense because I did everything right. Where have we heard that? I did everything right. What was I supposed to do? Right? This is at the core of the difference between a transaction and an exchange. Because when a so called nerd says that, this is what they mean. They're saying that I did everything I was told to do, and now I want a return on that investment. You see, what is the return on the transaction? Right? Is it fruitful engagement? Right? Is it deep, meaningful uh, uh, exchanges of orgasms, of experiences and information? Or is the exchange or is the result from a transaction a wet bed, right? A warm body, someone just to be there, right? What so called nerds fail to recognize is that being quote unquote safe has its place.
Yes.
You don't want to be reckless. You don't want to throw opportunities away. And at the same time, you don't want to be afraid to live. You see, that's one of the major differences between a so called nerd and a bad boy. The bad boy is not afraid to live, he's not afraid to explore new vistas, he's not afraid to be outside. Now,
No.
of course, there is a culture of quote unquote being outside, and there are aspects that can be negative. But do you know what else is outside, Rob?
What else? What else? Let us know.
Real life is outside, Rob.
Hey, there you go. Wanted you to say it. No, it is. It is. That's why I tell, when I'm doing my car videos, I'm saying, look, no matter what I'm saying, what anyone says, get outside and see for yourself. You had
Yeah.
to experience it. That's the best teacher. Don't ask me which book to read it in or where to look it up. You got to go out and find out. The best teacher is life itself. No matter what you learned in school, no matter how many books you read, no matter how many videos, go out and find out for yourself. even this thing of ours called game, because your version of game and my version of game, we can talk some general stuff, but it's going to be different because we're two different human beings. Anybody who wants to learn or develop themselves, they have to develop who they are, because their mission is going to be different from your mission. It's going to be different from my mission. That's the important thing. You have to go outside. You can't just say stay in the house and think, oh, okay, I'm gonna get all this. See, and what? Let me just say this about the bad boy. They call the bad boy not because they criminals,
Mhm.
but because they not following the days.
Right.
They going against the order of things that the days want. They are rebelling just by going out, just by living, because the days they want sheep. The bad
Mm.
boy is going against that and living on his own. He's doing on his own. You know, he could be called a bad boy just because he don't follow the religion that most people are following.
Right.
You know, that's how deep it is. It's like he's going against it. He's thinking on his own. He's not going for the propaganda. You
Exactly.
know.
And really, this is again, this is just an observation. We're deconstructing the concept of the transaction versus the exchange, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about the transaction, when we talk about transacting your value, right?
Mm-hmm.
Women do it all the time. Okay. Women do it all the time. Yeah, oh gosh. Here we go with the women.
Yeah.
What is a date?
Well, that's a transaction. That's a transaction. Think about it. If most men, when they taking a woman on a date, they're saying, well, I'm paying for the dinner, I'm doing this and that. The man wants the sex. The woman, she's going along on that date, seeing if she likes that transaction, seeing if that man's paying her price. That's all transactory.
Right. Right.
And it's like the clip that you shared on IG earlier about these women, the baddie culture.
Yes.
What are they really? Prostitution. They a form of acculturated prostitutes, as the Honorable Pimp God would call them, acceptable hoes. As I will call them, sex traders.
Indeed. Indeed. And let's be clear. Let's be clear. While we're on the subject of dating, right? Just because you go on a date doesn't mean that you're a trick. Okay. Dates are fun. They're supposed wait, look. They're supposed to be fun. Okay. Dates are supposed to be exciting moments of discovery where you as the man have an opportunity to see who this woman is that you presented the opportunity to choose, right? A date, and I'm only saying this because of course, I enjoy dates. I enjoy going out. I enjoy dancing. I enjoy shooting pool. I enjoy a nice meal because I like to intellectually engage with different women from different backgrounds, different experiences. Oh, we got we gonna come back to this. What's wrong with being a chick? Oh, good lord.
Lord have mercy.
Oh, we're gonna figure that out in 2 seconds. But here's the thing: dates can be very valuable experiences. And what I want to impose or impress on the different viewers is that you're not necessarily a simp or a trick for engaging with a woman on a date, right? You are if you are doing it on her terms, though.
Yes. Yes.
Shout out to the man mindset. Says, get the likes up. Respect to the game,
Steve
King
the
Ron.
Dean Williams.
Absolutely. Salute to you. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. But Ron, what do you have to say first about what's wrong with being a trick? Maybe this is a joke, but let's take this as an actual question.
Um, you paying the woman's price. You like trying you just being with the woman based on what she wants. Because what's happening is a lot of guys they putting it on a pedestal. They paying her price. They benefiting her in the transaction. If you have to have a transaction with a woman, what are you getting out of it? What are you paying for? Because you giving what she wants. But shoot, let's just be real. If you really going to do it, what we're talking about, shoot, she got to exchange something with you. Exchange. That's what you really want.
Right.
You want her to want you with the same power, the same fervor that you might want her. It needs to be at least equal. I'm saying at least equal.
Right. And 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 we appreciate that response. Now, for this question, I want to invoke the power of the pimp. By the power of the pimp, we implore you.
You know it's hard out here for a pimp.
Absolutely. In answering this question, what is wrong with being a trick? Well, first of all, let's understand what a trick is. All right. A trick is someone who is led to believe that they are receiving something valuable for their resources. Right. And a trick is someone who does not know their own value, who does
Mhm.
not believe that their presence is valuable. Remember, we
Mhm.
talked about your relative value,
Yes.
right? Your presence, prowess, and presentation. A trick is someone who believes that that is not enough
No.
to entertain a woman. You see,
Yeah.
that is what a trick is. Someone who thinks that they have to pay to be in the presence of someone who is actually benefiting from his presence. That is a
Yes.
trick. Now, this follow up question here, of course, is fun. What's the difference between simping and tricking? Rom, you want to touch that one first, or I mean, we got the flaming sword out, but
I'll let you take care of it, man. I don't even. I'll let you just take care of it real quick, man. We gotta keep moving.
no, absolutely. No, these are great questions because some people these are listen. That's why they're levels to game, right?
Yeah.
We can name eight, at least five levels of game. This is the first level. This is elementary, right? What's the difference between simping and tricking? Now we've already discussed what tricking is. Someone who is tricked into believing that they're not enough. Now,
Hmm.
a simp is someone impressed with mediocre pussy. Okay, let's just a simp is someone who not only um, is unaware of their own value, but has actually devalued themselves. Just it's just one thing to not be aware of your value and
Hmm.
to be under the impression that you have to transact your resources in exchange for being in the presence of someone.
Hmm.
It's even worse to purposefully devalue yourself in order to be in the orbit of someone. A simp is someone who commits self abuse. And you know what I mean when I say self abuse. When a man intentionally, knowingly puts himself in a woman's friend zone, that is self abuse, in my
Yeah.
opinion. What about you, Ron?
No, I agree with that. And in fact, what I would say add to the friend zone thing, men really put themselves in a friend zone.
Right.
A woman could say, "Yeah, I just see you as a friend." Okay. Why you still hanging around? Why you still hanging around Cause I mean, I remember a woman and may this young lady, may she rest in peace, unfortunately, and she had put me in the friend zone, but then wanted me. What she had said, "Oh, I just see you as a friend." Then wanted me to take her out. I was like, why would I spend my money on you? You just see me as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Why we would go out? I remember this a long time ago. She was sexy too. She was sexy. But I was like, I wasn't playing that. Shoot, she was fine. I was trying to get inside of her, but this was back in the late '80s.
Mm.
I always remember that. I always remember that stuff. But see, I ain't put myself there
That's it.
because if a woman said, even now, if a woman were to say to me, "I only see you as a friend," I was like, okay. We can talk on the phone if I got nothing else to do, but I ain't gonna hang out with you. I ain't gonna pay for you. Men put
Mm.
themselves there.
That's it. This is coming from the player OG
I'll
himself.
be a player for life.
That's it.
So where's my wife?
Absolutely. So essentially, yes, like you said, Mother Nature, like male feminists. Absolutely. So now that we've addressed that, moving forward, because of time, we want to make sure that we have presented a contrast between the transaction and the exchange.
Yes.
Because when we consider what is valuable, we consider your masculine line. We consider her feminine essence, right?
Yes.
And when we bring those two dynamics together, the exchange has to do with the interaction. The
Yes.
exchange has to do with the chemistry. You see, we're going to have a conversation about enjoying the nectar of a feminine woman. But do you know what we offer as a man? You see, we're thinkers over here, right?
Yeah.
We don't just put stuff out there haphazardly. We have conversations in other spaces. We read. We enjoy the pursuit of wisdom. So when we talk about a woman having that feminine nectar, that it's so delicious, it's so wonderful to enjoy. Well, what do men have? Men have a masculine ambrosia
Yes.
that is so potent, that is so valuable, that women will claw over each other to
Yes.
get a hold of it. You
Yeah,
see?
it's that energy that we're bringing. See, we got to realize. See, too many men putting women on that pedestal, not realizing, wait a minute, what we bringing? Hold up, they getting this.
Exactly.
That's why I said, even if these women talking about how much money they're making, they can protect, they can have that big old house. That's why some of them might have that young guy still tearing them up in the bedroom. That
There it is.
bedroom.
Absolutely.
Shout out Morris Day. He's tearing them up in a bit because it's all about the energy. They still want that energy. These women still want it. They will pay for it. They want it. But see, they ain't gonna say that publicly because they still want the guys who still will simp for them, still will trick for them, still will give them something. But they ain't realize, well, they know that they still want that guy who's going to give them that energy. They still want that power. Just because the power a man can bring to a woman can literally open her up, can even open her up on a deep metaphysical level. But I don't know if we're ready to go to that deeper level, are we?
Well, I mean, let's because you're touching upon alignment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I talk about the so-called bad boy, when I talk about the player, the Mac, the OG, when someone asks you, when someone asks us who we are, and we say me, what that me represents is the fully integrated self, right?
Yes.
And so we have to give examples for those who don't know what that means, what that entails, why your the integration of the self is so valuable, right? Now, we can exemplify this in so many ways, but we like to bring it home with
Mhm.
activities that are unique to who we are and what we're what we have the capacity to do, right? Now, you've played sports, Ron, right?
Yes.
Besides orgasming, what greater feeling is there when you can score a touchdown,
Whew.
when you can sink a three pointer,
Whew.
when you
Man, it's
have the
powerful.
ability to contribute to a team effort that brings you a championship? What better feeling, what greater feeling is there?
You can't really say there's a greater feeling. You really can't, because that's powerful because you bring in your full energy to that. You really getting into the sports. You really doing something. You really accomplishing something. And even if you're not playing sports, maybe you really made money with some project. You really did something you're trying to do. Like I know with me, just creating projects where I actually charge money for them, I get a great feeling from it.
Right,
I get a great feeling. I get a great feeling from knowing about the books that I put on the market, both fiction and nonfiction.
right.
And it's powerful. It is powerful and stuff. I mean, you can, I mean, it's a feeling. Yeah, yeah, you can bust that nut. Yeah,
Hmm.
you can get that orgasm, but the feeling you get, just the feeling of accomplishment, like you do something and you go out and I'm gonna tell you what, because I had my medical emergency a few years ago, but
Hmm.
just the feeling that no matter what I do, and this has been for decades, no matter what I do, I've accomplished something. I got stuff that will live long past me.
Right,
That's powerful. And that not just like a physical life, because got two sons, but just the books I've written, just the things I've done in the jobs that I've had, just the things that I've accomplished. It's powerful. It's
definitely.
powerful. And that's that energy. And it's like, yeah, you can get that one with those thick thighs, which save lives. But
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
about what you've done. Think about some of the things you've done. And it's like that's powerful. That
Right.
that's powerful. It's like it's a hard feeling to match. Like you said, sports, you hit that winning free throw or that winning jump shot, or you scored that touchdown, or whatever sports you scored that goal in soccer, whatever you did, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, getting a woman, yeah, you got in that woman with the thick thighs would save lives. But, think about all the other stuff and see ultimately as a man, that's what you want to do out here. Ultimately, as a man, the women are a commercial, in my view, to the main program, which is what you doing out here, no matter what you're doing, what your mission is. What is your mission? And what are you doing on it? What have you accomplished on it? And see, once a man has that, he has that energy within, he will actually, that's part of his broadcast to women who will be in submission to his mission. And when I say submission, I don't mean he's controlling them, but they automatically want to help him.
Yes.
They automatically want to help him.
Now, we have demonstrated what the peak, what the apex, what some of the greatest expressionality of masculinity is.
Hmm.
And that could be summarized with one word: impact. Our ability to impact
Yes.
ourselves and the environment is a part of our highest
Yes.
level of joy Remember that joy of life? Now, this is where the teachers are separated from the students.
Mm-hmm.
What is a woman's greatest joy? How does a woman express her true self? You see, this is where the wisdom comes in
Mm-hmm.
as we turn this corner. You ever observe a woman in her freeness, in her natural environment, where she is fully aware of herself,
Mm-hmm.
where she has a understanding of her feminine nature. She has an
Yes.
understanding of people around her. She has an understanding of her role within a certain environment.
Yes.
You ever just stop and look? You're usually in a room full of people. You're usually in an environment that requires community. You're usually in a space that that allows for interpersonal communication. You see, just like the men working together on the sports team to achieve the goal of a championship. You know what the championship is for a woman? Relationships.
Yes.
When a woman is in her truly divine, aligned, feminine essence at her peak, she is an adept matchmaker. A woman's ability to weave interpersonal networks, to
Mm-hmm.
put people in a comparable space. Well, this person matches this other person's energy. Well, they are culturally aligned. You see, that's why women love astrology. What does the energy say? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What do the cycles and the seasons of life bring to the moment? You see, beautiful when you see a woman in her natural element. You see, a woman, her greatest joy, and of course, there are very few spaces that will bring you this point that I'm going to make right now. If a man at our greatest joy and our peak of existence is impact, a woman at her peak of existence is integration, right? When a
Mm-hmm.
woman takes what a man gives him and she multiplies it, when a woman receives what a community provides for her and she multiplies it and she provides that resource for others. That's why we say that Big Mama holds the greatest position within a familial structure. Of course, you got the OG, the original God. Of course, you got him there. And when we talk about Big Mama, the reason why she's able to do so much for so many people, feed people she doesn't even know, provide clothes for those who are in need, connect people with resources, is because she is open to receive those resources. She's open to receive that energy. She has aligned herself with the greatest expression of femininity. That is integration.
Yes. Yes.
And so when we talk about value, the value of masculinity, right? Action, realizing uh, your potential, maximizing your resources, fulfilling your mission, seeking discovery. And we talk about the value of the feminine, right? Putting together relationships, understanding and appreciating those who have the opportunity to connect and to be a benefit for each other within a community setting. The foundation, being that foundation of the familial ecosystem.
Yes.
That's the value that women bring to the table,
Yes.
you see? And this is the ultimate goal of all of these conversations that we have beyond, the meaning of life, beyond how to live a full, a rich, an impactful life, is understanding and appreciating and developing and nurturing and expanding the true value and appreciating the value of the exchange over the transaction. Now the transaction has its place,
Yes.
right? Right? You're talking to a former exotic entertainer. Absolutely. You better be ready for that transaction, right? If I'm going to bring seduction, if I'm going to bring entertainment value, if I'm going to bring what I'm bringing, you definitely better bring that bread,
Yeah.
right? The transaction has its space.
Hmm.
However, we want to impress upon the audience that the transaction is not the main focus of the relationship. The main focus of the relationship, which is the prize, right? The ultimate prize is not the man or the woman. The ultimate prize is the relationship. And what the true value that both parties bring to the prize is who they are.
Yes.
And this is not to sound cliche. This is not to sound, woo woo or whatever. The work that we do as game coaches, as seduction coaches, as life coaches, and uh, those who are teachers, practitioners, and mentors of this thing we call game, so that we can develop the type of man who has relative and ultimate and value, is so that he knows who he is, he knows what he brings to that dynamic, and he knows how to recognize the value in the woman who has the potential to be her best self. You see? Once again, that's why women love players, max, and OGs, because we not only make them better, uh-oh,
Yes.
we not only make them better, but we put everyone involved in the best position for the mission.
Yes.
You see, the man as the authority, the
Yes.
woman as the foundation.
Yes.
And when you can put a woman in her position, which is submission to the mission,
Yes.
everybody wins. Rom, any last thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I mean, I would just say, just listen to that power because that was powerful what you were saying about Big Mama. It's like this Tantra master would say, you could put a woman in a room with a little bit of bread, a little bit of water, and one sperm, and she'll come out with a baby, more food, more water. It's their world to really expand what the man brings. But
Yes.
it works that way. But no, they don't bring it first. See, that's where things are off. Women trying to bring it first. No, men, we bring stuff, but then the women expand it. They expand on what the man brings.
Right.
And they expand on what his authority is. As you say, we're the authority. They are the foundation. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their job, everybody does what they do. See, one of the twisted things we have in this society now, everything is off. That's why you have a lot of problems. Shoot, even a lot of women, they're not happy with the position that they're in. They want to be with a man who is authority. That's why you sometimes you will get some woman, she'll start out like Miss Independent, but she run into the right man and she changing up. I never forget this one woman who had a reputation, and I've talked about this before. She had a reputation being a ball buster,
Mm,
but she got married, and I said, "Well," I asked her straight up. I said, "How you get married to this guy?" Because she said this guy would tell her to zip it, and she would just zip it.
mm-hmm.
And she was a known ball buster, you
Right.
know. She
Right.
was a known ball buster, but see, what he did was put her in her proper position.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
know, and that's what she was, and she did have that energy when and I've seen that happen with quite a few women when they switch that energy up. Oh, they, no matter what they say, this is what they want.
Yes.
They want that man who has authority. They want that man who has energy. I got women now who will hit me up. I'm not having sex with them, doing anything. They'd be like, "Hey, Ron, what do you think about this? What do you think I should do about this?" I ain't even having sex with these women,
Mm-hmm.
but they want that. That's why you have some women, they just want to be around that man. Even if I mean, they would love to probably have sex with him, but if they can just be in his orbit, they love that. And as a man, we have to realize we have that power. That's
Yeah.
why I have said, especially on my Patreon, I don't care what women say, they want a man.
Right.
They want that energy. They want that. They want that. The thing is, in this society, things are just kind of twisted. You know,
Very much so. That's
things are very twisted. Things are it's not a order. That's why things are so out of order. And then you got some men, they trying to force something, but they're not doing it properly. Because if a man is in his proper authority, he's in his proper energy, women automatically, they'll just be who they're going to be.
right.
But see, we have to recognize their power, let them do their thing. And let
Yes.
me just say this, I'll never forget, I learned this lesson when I was doing some vending in DC. It was at this park, Manica Park, right across the street from Howard University in DC.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a vending event, and they had an older couple, and he was doing his thing, she was doing her thing, and she was definitely in her feminine, he was in his masculine, but he was protective of her, and you could feel his energy around her. Even there
Right.
were some young boys that were cursing around them. He checked them. He
Mm.
checked them. He let them know, hold up, you can't be cursing like that around my wife.
Right.
And they apologized. They apologized because they saw what he was, and you saw who was in charge, who had the authority, but then you saw what her foundation was.
Right.
And that's the important thing. Very
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely. Very quickly, Pharaoh asks the question: would you both agree that a Renaissance man would be a part of this discussion? Well, any man who is engaging in this thing that we call game, especially now with these conversations that we're having, and actually applying this information, this wisdom, and developing within himself a level of masculine mastery, is a Renaissance man, because this
Hmm.
is all collectively a renaissance of masculinity. So great
Yes.
question, and that's how I would respond to that.
Yes,
Um,
I agree.
Again, thanks to everybody who's participated in this conversation. Forward this information to someone who you know can benefit from this ism. And once again, we want to make sure that we venerate the ancestor, Kevin Samuels. This
Yes.
is your libation. Salute to you. He will always continue to provide insights, even now from his new position as an ancestor. And we always want to make sure that we take time to remember and to celebrate the gifts and the contributions, and above all, the impact that he made and the legacy that will always be his. As we always say in closing, shout out to the OG player himself, Ron Wills.
I be a player for life, so where's my wife?
And as always, this is your man, Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, saying stay sharp and mission focused. Later.